Hello and welcome again to EDUC 749. We're going to jump in here with Module 1 and get started. In this presentation, I will do a little bit more introduction of myself as your instructor for this class. I'll also go over some course expectations, and then we'll do a little overview of what you'll find in Module 1. What I'm going to do today will be pretty consistent with what will happen each week. So each weekend I'll post an update for the coming module that will include some updates of the information that I found most pertinent in the text or in the material, and what's on the schedule for assignments, any issues that I think we need to address for the upcoming assignments, and I will also review some of what was shared. In some cases, I'll share what was shared from your work completed in the module previously. So this will be there, typically will be 10-15 minutes, maybe less, depending on what else is included in the course. So you can expect to have an update like this with each module that we do. So I told you a little bit about myself in the intro video that I posted a couple of days ago. I told you about my family. My background, my degrees are from IU, Indiana State, and Ball State. My bachelor's is from Indiana University in secondary social studies education. And then when I couldn't find a social studies job, and as I shared, I could get a job in special education, I then went to Indiana State, and that's where I pursued my master's in special education and my teaching endorsement in special education in Indiana. And from there, I went to Ball State University, where I worked on my administrative certification and my doctorate in special education and educational leadership. So my administrative licensure in Indiana is principal's license, director of special education, and then superintendent. And I shared with you that my position currently is with Avon Community School Corporation, where I'm the assistant superintendent. And Avon is just on the west side of Indianapolis. We have about 10,000 students. And so that keeps me pretty busy during the week. I tend to do most of my work for this course on the weekends, so I will do some grading and things like that over the course of the week in the evening, but most of the heavy work that I do for this course will be on the weekend. But you're welcome to contact me during the week as well. I do check my Olivet email and those kinds of things to stay up on the course throughout the week, but most of my time during the week is spent supporting the students and staff in Avon. So some expectations for this class. This is the first time I've ever taught this class. This is the second course that I've taught at Olivet. And these two courses that I've taught for ONU have been my first experience with totally online courses. Prior to that, I had taught a hybrid class that was partially online and partially in person. And I found that I really do like the online course, but the fully online course, but it's different. And one of the ways that it's different is I do feel like there's more responsibility on both of us, me as the instructor, you as the students, to engage with each other, because in an in-person class, it's a lot easier to do that. It takes a little bit more effort in an online class, and I really view my role as to be here to help support you and help you to grow as an educator. And so I will reach out to you individually, probably within the first 2 or 3 weeks of the course, to see how it's going, what I can do to better support you. But if there are things that you think could improve this course for you, tell me that. Don't wait until the course evaluation. Tell me that. We'll make this course as meaningful as possible. One of the things I like about an online class, and I think you'll see this if you've viewed any of the modules that are coming in the next couple of weeks. In an in-person class, one of the things I always have tried to do is to have experts come in. Now my children are going to come into the room. Hi. I'm recording for my class.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to say hello?
Wait, is this live?
Yes.
Oh!
This is Adeline. She just had volleyball all day. All right, go.
Okay, bye.
In another room. Thank you. Okay, so that'll happen occasionally. So one of the things I always found in an in-person class is that I liked bringing in other people besides me to share about the content, because I just felt like having different perspectives was a good thing. And so what I like about an online class is I can do that through videos. And so you will see that in each module, I try to accomplish that same thing by bringing different experts and different perspectives to the course by posting various videos. Some are only a couple of minutes, some are longer, but I find that does that same concept of what I have tried to do in in-person classes as well. So if you have other ideas of people or videos that you think pertain to this content, share them with me, because I can certainly link them as we go throughout the course. Be present, be engaged. Obviously discussion boards, we'll do those. Some of those will include video. There's some group work that we'll do, and those are just really important in an online class, because being present and engaged is different in an online class than it is in an in-person class. And so we'll support each other through that. Ask questions, learn from one another. That's what this is all about. We will learn from each other. The communication piece is really important so that we can, as I said, the 8-week course goes by really fast. So if there are things that you need in terms of communication or you need from me, feel free to let me know. Don't wait, because the course does go by so fast. Assignments, grading, and feedback, those are things that you can expect that I will get feedback to you within the week after an assignment. And I do give feedback in various ways, so I'll try to point that out for you. Sometimes it's through comments and notes. Sometimes it's through audio or video recording attached to the assignment. And so I'll try to highlight those for you so that you know what to look for when you're reviewing your assignments. So as we think about getting into the course content, the one thing I would say is don't get too far ahead. I know sometimes in online classes, let me go back to one thing. On the assignments, one thing I would say is be sure to review the rubric. That's the most important part when you look at what I'm looking for and what each assignment is really asking. Those rubrics provide so much information to make it really clear as to how the grading will be done. So please look at those and as you're completing the assignment, because that's what I'll be looking at as I go through grading. I do expect things to be turned in on time. So if in doubt, get it in on time. If there's some kind of emergency that comes up, certainly let me know. I understand that things happen, but in general, it should be pretty clear when things are due. Now, I was saying don't get too far ahead. I have posted different videos and different content up through Module 5 so far. I'm still working on some of the later modules, but those things could change. So I wouldn't work too far ahead in terms of going through the modules. You can certainly read ahead. That's not going to change. And the assignments aren't going to change. So if you do find that you have some time early on in the course and you want to start working on some of those things and get a head start, I've done that before in online classes. Certainly reading, certainly the assignments are a good place to start, but some of the course content will change based on the work that we do leading up to each module. So I've got a start of some things there, but it could change. So let's talk a little bit, as you read Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, it starts talking about inclusion. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about my first experience with inclusion, because the text summarizes it in a very similar way. When I got my second teaching job, it was at an elementary level, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students with emotional disabilities. And the teacher that I followed loved having her own class. She loved having 15 or 20 kids with disabilities all in a room. and she could support them and nurture them and get them where she felt they needed to be. And I came in as a new teacher, and what I found was that it wasn't working. And I had not only students with emotional disabilities, but students with attention deficit, students with learning disabilities. And so for that first year, I basically did what she had done. I was a self-contained teacher. My kids really, their experience, their models were each other, other kids with disabilities. We had a lot of behavioral issues. I found that even in that first year, I was losing sight of what typical 4th, 5th, and 6th graders were doing, because I spent all day, every day with kids with disabilities. So at the end of that year, I approached my principal and said, I don't think this is working, and can we start to push kids out? Can we start to look just at science and social studies and pushing kids out into those classrooms? And so we did some training over the summer with our teachers and started talking with parents and started that process of pushing kids out. And so if you look as in the text, as you start reading, they classify the phases of inclusive education into 4 levels: relative isolation, integration, inclusion, and empowerment and self-determination. And so when I got to my class, when I got this position, they were relatively isolated, almost totally isolated. What I did then was really get them to that integration, and by the time I left that position, I think we were getting to inclusion, where they really were being included as a part of the general education classroom for more than just science and social studies. I never got to see them get to that empowerment and self-determination level, but I have seen that in some of our other programs, particularly at the middle school or high school level, as students can start to advocate for themselves and advocate for their needs being met. So I liked the way that the authors summarized these 4 phases of inclusion, and I could relate to that specifically in my experience. And I'm sure that you've got a similar experience, whether you're a general education teacher or a special education teacher, to connect with supporting kids in various settings. There are 3 videos that are posted this week, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about each one of them. The first one is the TED Talk, and what I liked about the TED Talk is it talks about multiple things that are addressed in the reading this week as well. Universal design for learning, supporting families and honoring families in that work, IDEA. The piece that I thought is really interesting in the TED Talk is her assertion that people with disabilities are the most marginalized in our society. So I'm curious if that resonates with you as well. It did for me. That is, we're in this profession to support kids with various abilities, and to hear that they're so marginalized is something that I think we as educators really need to strive to have an impact. The second video is one of my favorites, partially because I think it gets to some of those preconceived notions that we have about students with disabilities. And so I'm Tyler is really powerful because it shows just how important teachers and educators are in impacting students and exposing them to opportunities that they are entitled to be exposed to and experiences at school that they should be receiving. And finally, the last video, you might be wondering, what in the world are we talking about bowling for? But I love the bowling video because in chapter 1 of our textbook, the authors reference that in so many of our traditional classrooms, when we teach to the middle. And the bowling video is great because she talks about planning our instruction to address the diverse learners, the outside pins. And by doing that, all students benefit. But if you think about what we do in classrooms, so often it's teaching to the middle, and we're missing the students that are at the ends of the continuum that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about in this class. So I just liked the connection to bowling. This was a recent article that you can Google about Noblesville Schools, which is here in Indiana, and how they have converted all of their classrooms to be special education classrooms, and some interesting information about how they have done that. Really neat things happening there.